Hey, good to see you again. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I know it's the holiday season and we should be talking about joy and celebration, but unfortunately, we need to address something that happened yesterday that's shaken the nation. And look, if you're new here, or if you've been watching for a while but haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Right now, I promise you, I'm going to give you the straight facts. No nonsense, no drama, just what you need to know. And between you and me, that little red button really does help keep this channel going. So I'd appreciate it. Now, let's talk about what happened yesterday at Brown University in Rhode Island. Saturday afternoon, December 13th, around 4 in the afternoon, students were in the middle of taking their final exams. You know how it is. End of the semester, everyone's stressed, trying to finish strong before heading home for the holidays. And then in the Burroughs and Holly engineering building, shots rang out. Multiple shots. 2 people lost their lives. 9 others were injured, many of them in critical condition. This is an Ivy League campus, a place where families send their kids expecting them to be safe, to learn, to grow. And instead, we're talking about another mass shooting. President Trump, who was attending the Army-Navy football game when news broke, was briefed on the situation. He made his first comments on Truth Social, saying, quote, "God bless the victims and the families of the victims." And later, when he spoke to reporters, he called it, quote, "What a terrible thing it is. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Just pray." Now, those are the words he used. Straightforward, somber, nothing political about them in that moment. But here's what I want to unpack with you over the next 20 minutes or so. What actually happened? How did this unfold? What was the response? And what does this mean moving forward? Just between you and me, this is one of those stories where we need to cut through the noise and look at the facts. So stick with me. Let's break this down together, because you deserve to know what really happened at Brown University. Yesterday, all right, let me give you the timeline, because understanding what happened and when is crucial here. Saturday afternoon, December 13th, at approximately 4:05 in the afternoon, Brown University's Department of Public Safety received reports of an active shooter. The location was the Burroughs and Holly building, a 7-story structure on the east side of campus that houses the School of Engineering and the Physics Department. Now, this wasn't just any Saturday. This was the second day of final exams for the fall semester. Students were packed into that building, taking tests, wrapping up their semester, thinking about going home for the holidays. At 4:22, the university sent out an emergency alert to the entire campus: active shooter, shelter in place, lock your doors, silence your phones, stay hidden. Can you imagine being a student and getting that alert on your phone? Or being a parent and seeing the news? Providence Mayor Brett Smiley confirmed in a press conference that evening that 2 people were killed and 8 others were critically injured, with 1 additional person suffering non-life-threatening injuries from fragments. Brown University President Christina Paxson later confirmed that at least 10 of the 11 victims were students. These were young people with their whole lives ahead of them. The suspect, described by police as a male dressed in black, was last seen fleeing the building on foot. And here's where it gets complicated. Early on, there was confusion. The university initially told everyone that a suspect was in custody. President Trump even posted on Truth Social saying a suspect was in custody. But then that information was walked back. Brown officials issued a correction saying that while someone had been detained and questioned, that person was determined not to be the shooting suspect. So, as of last night, the shooter was still at large, with law enforcement conducting a massive manhunt across Providence. Before I continue, if you're finding this information valuable, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It helps more people see this coverage. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. you know, the rules, I give you the facts, you give me a subscription, fair deal, right? Now, authorities, including the FBI, ATF, and U.S. Marshals, were all on scene. This was a full-scale response. Officers going through academic buildings, searching backyards, sifting through trash cans, trying to find this individual. The community was on edge, sheltering in place for hours. The reactions to this shooting came swift and from all corners. President Trump, as I mentioned, was at the Army-Navy game in Maryland when he was first briefed. His initial post on Truth Social was brief and focused on the victims. And later, when speaking to reporters as he returned to the White House, he said, quote, "I've been fully briefed on the Brown University situation." What a terrible thing it is. And all we can do right now is pray for the victims and for those that were very badly hurt. He continued, quote, "It's a shame. It's a shame, just pray now." These were measured words. No politics, no policy talk in that moment, just acknowledgement of the tragedy. Vice President J.D. Vance also weighed in on social media, posting, quote, "We're all thinking of and praying for the victims tonight." FBI Director Kash Patel said on X that FBI personnel were on the scene and assisting, pledging to provide all capabilities necessary. Rhode Island Governor Dan McKee declared a full state mobilization in response to the shooting, bringing in resources from across the state. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democrat from Rhode Island, said in a statement that his heart breaks for the students who were looking forward to a holiday break and instead are dealing with another horrifying mass shooting in their own Providence community. On campus, the mood was one of shock and fear. Students who spoke to media described hiding for hours, not knowing if they were safe, receiving conflicting information about whether a suspect was in custody. One student told reporters he sheltered in place for 2 hours, terrified, waiting for the all clear. Parents were calling frantically, trying to reach their kids. The confusion about whether a suspect had been caught added to the chaos and anxiety. Brown officials were criticized by some for the mixed messages. Though in a crisis situation, information is often fluid and mistakes happen, the broader public reaction online was a mix of grief, anger, and frustration. Many people expressed exhaustion at yet another mass shooting, pointing out that this keeps happening, that thoughts and prayers aren't enough, that something needs to change. Others focused on supporting the victims and their families, sharing messages of solidarity with the Brown community. It's worth noting that, and this shooting comes at a time when gun violence remains a deeply divisive issue in American politics, but in the immediate aftermath, most of the focus was rightly on the human cost, the lives lost, the families shattered. Let's dig deeper into what we know about the circumstances surrounding this shooting, because there are a lot of questions still unanswered. The Boris and Holly building, where this occurred, is a busy academic hub, especially during finals week. It's not a dorm, it's not a recreational facility. It's a place where students go to take exams, attend classes, work on projects. The fact that this happened during finals, when the building would have been full of students, raises questions about whether the shooter specifically chose this time and place, or if it was opportunistic. Authorities have been tight-lipped about potential motives. They haven't released the names of the victims, citing the ongoing investigation and the need to notify families. They also haven't identified the suspect publicly, which suggests they may not yet know who they're looking for, or they're withholding that information for investigative reasons. What we do know is that the shooter was described as a male dressed in black, which is not a lot to go on. Law enforcement was searching through the night, going door to door in some neighborhoods, checking hotels, following up on tips. Reports indicate that U.S. Marshals FBI agents, and local police conducted a raid on a hotel near the Providence airport. Early Sunday morning, CNN witnessed at least 20 officers entering a hotel room. A U.S. Marshals official told CNN they had detained someone connected to the incident. Now, connected could mean a lot of things. It could be a person of interest, a witness, someone with information. As of now, we don't have confirmation that this person is the shooter. The investigation is still active and ongoing. Before we move forward, if you're getting value from this breakdown, please take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does make a difference in helping me bring you this kind of coverage. I appreciate you being here. Behind the scenes, there's also the question of security on college campuses. Brown, like many universities, has its own police department and safety protocols. They responded quickly, issuing alerts and coordinating with local law enforcement, but the reality is that open campuses are difficult to secure. Students, faculty, and visitors come and go freely. It's not like an airport with metal detectors and checkpoints. This is an environment designed to be open and welcoming, and that inherently creates vulnerabilities in the aftermath of this shooting. You can bet there will be discussions about whether security needs to be enhanced, whether there should be more restrictions on who can access academic buildings, especially during high traffic times like finals. So what does this mean going forward? What's the impact of what happened at Brown University yesterday? First and foremost, there are 11 families whose lives have been forever changed. 2 families are mourning the loss of loved ones. 9 others are watching their family members fight for their lives or recover from injuries. That's the human cost, and it can't be overstated. These aren't just statistics. These are real people. Students with dreams and futures that have been cut short or dramatically altered. For Brown University, this is a tragedy that will be felt for years to come. The campus community is traumatized. Students who were there, who sheltered in place, who heard the shots, who saw the aftermath, they're going to carry that with them. The university will need to provide counseling, support services, and a path forward for healing. Finals will likely be delayed or adjusted. Graduation ceremonies may take on a more somber tone. This is a wound that won't heal quickly. Politically, this shooting will inevitably reignite debates about gun violence and what to do about it. President Trump's response was measured and focused on the victims. But the broader conversation about policy is unavoidable. Some will call for stricter gun laws, universal background checks, red flag laws, bans on certain types of weapons. Others will argue that the problem is mental health and that we need better identification and treatment of people who pose a danger to themselves or others. And still others will say that the solution is more security, more police presence, arming teachers or security guards. These are not new arguments, and they won't be resolved anytime soon. What I can tell you just between you and me is that mass shootings have become an American reality that many other developed nations don't experience at anywhere near the same rate. Whether you believe the solution is gun control, mental health reform, security measures, or some combination of all three, the fact remains that something is broken. And until there's a willingness to have honest, good faith conversations and make meaningful changes, we're going to keep having these conversations after more tragedies. In the immediate term, the focus needs to be on catching the suspect, supporting the victims and their families, and ensuring the Brown community feels safe again. The investigation is ongoing, and we should expect more information in the coming days. If the person detained near the airport is confirmed to be the shooter, that will be a major development. If not, the manhunt continues. As we wrap up here, I want to thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand what happened at Brown University, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button and that like button. Share this with someone who needs to know the facts, and most importantly, keep the victims and their families in your thoughts. This is a time for compassion, for community, and for reflection. Merry Christmas to you and yours, and let's hope for better days ahead. I'm Jimmy Lemo, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay informed, stay safe,